Hello everyone. Here's the fast track to learning the TouchDesigner user interface and its main concepts. In 40 minutes I'm going to show you a lot of things, so pay close attention. Of course you can pause and replay this video, and you can also read the transcript in the wiki. So click along with me or not. Here we go. To use TouchDesigner you need a 3-button mouse with a roller wheel or the equivalent. Start by double-clicking the TouchDesigner icon on the desktop. You see the network editor on the right when you first start TouchDesigner. The palette browser is on the left. Close the palette by clicking the X at its upper right corner. To pan the network, click and drag the left mouse button on an empty area of the network. To zoom the network, click and hold down the middle mouse button and drag it to the left and right. Press the H key to center it, which is also called homing. To home just the highlighted node, press Shift H. In an empty area of the network, right-click and release the mouse. You'll see the network menu. Choose Home All. Left-click on a node and drag it to a new location. To box select several nodes, click and hold down the right mouse button in an empty area and drag the mouse over the nodes. Left-click on any selected node and drag it. The selected nodes will move together. Left-click on the background to unselect the nodes except for the current node in green. Right-click on one of the nodes. You'll see the node menu. Choose View to bring up a floating window. Resize it by clicking and dragging the edges. Now you can close the window by clicking it in the corner. To delete all the nodes, press Ctrl A and then press Delete. Double-click on the empty network. The Op Create dialog appears, where Op means operator or node. Click on Movie File In, then click anywhere in the network to place it. You can also press Tab. To cancel, click the background. On the right side of the first node, right-click on its blue output connector, and from the Op Create menu, click Level, and then click to the right to create Level 1, which will be connected to Movie File In 1. You've just added an image filter, Level 1, that modifies the level of an image generator, Movie File In 1. On the top right dialog, move the sliders labeled Black Level and Brightness. These are typical parameters in TouchDesigner. Once again, double-click on the background. The Upgrade dialog has 6 headings of what we call operator families. Click on Chop for channel operators. Also, you can press Tab several times to cycle back to chops. Darker colored operators are generators. Generators create new data or read data from external devices and programs. The lighter colored operators are filters. Filters modify the data of an incoming operator. Click on the chop type pattern and place it in the network. Bring up Op Create again. You can find a specific operator by typing its name. Type NOI and then click on Noise and create a noise chop. Let's look at the 6 families of operators. As you likely know already, texture operator, tops, work with images. And channel operators, chops, are for motion, controls, and audio. Press the Tab key to bring up Op Create. At the top right, make sure to set to All versus Basic to see all the operators. Click SOP. Surface operators work with polygons, 3D lines, and other surfaces. Choose the Sphere SOP. Press the Tab key and select Matte. Material operators, mattes, add textures and shading to 3D objects. Choose a Phong matte. Press the Tab key and select Comp. There are three categories of components. From 3D objects, choose a geometry comp and place it. A geometry component prepares a SOP and a material for 3D rendering. Press the Tab key again. From the panels list, choose a slider comp, which is one of the 2D gadgets for building control panels. Press the Tab key and select DAT. Data operators manipulate text strings, both freeform text and in tables. Choose a monitors DAT, where we see both a table and freeform text. If we want, you can go back to Basic while you're first learning TouchDesigner, but we'll stick with All. Node inputs are found on their left side, and outputs are on their right. Press Tab and create a top called Monochrome, and place it to the right of level 1. Connect the output of level 1 to the input of Mono in one of two ways. Click, drag, and release, or disconnect, right-click, click, release, move, click, release. Now click and drag Mono to the right to create some space. To insert a new node between the two already connected nodes, right-click on the output of level 1 and select a tile top and place it. Another way is to right-click on the wire and select Insert Operator. Now, to create a new branch from a node, middle-click on the output of level 1 and select Edge and place it above tile 1. The connecting lines between the nodes are called wires. Remove a wire by clicking on the input of a connected node, Edge 1, and then clicking on an empty space in the network. Reconnect Edge 1 by clicking on Edge 1's input and then level 1's output. Another way to delete a wire is to right-click on a wire and select Disconnect. Again, reconnect Edge 1. You can think of data flowing along these wires, in this case images. I left-click on a wire and see the image. Now let's watch the wires animate. Click level 1 and go to its parameters, watching the wires, and adjust the brightness and black level. You can see the wires animating, which means that the data is being passed from one node to the other, caused by a cook of the operator itself. Middle mouse click on tile 1 and see how many times it is cooked, 187. Similarly for level. But let's look at movie file in. It is only cooked one time because it only had to cook one time. The 3D components like geometry, cameras, and lights have connectors and lines on their bottoms and tops, which connects them as parent-child in a 3D hierarchy, but no data flows along them. Similarly, the 2D components, like sliders, buttons, and containers, also have connectors on their bottoms and tops, which is one way to group them in a panel, but again, no data flows along them. Data only flows through the wires on the sides of nodes. Click on one of the nodes and make a current. This gives it a green border. Yellow borders around nodes means they are selected. Box picks some other nodes, select them. Shift click or shift box click to add more nodes to that set of selected nodes. You can act on selected nodes together. Right click on the network background and select Delete, to remove the nodes. Then press Ctrl Z to undo. You can also undo via the Edit menu. Now click the top left flag of any of the selected nodes. This toggles between their node viewers and their three-letter icons. To unselect all, click on the background, leaving only the current node. Up to now, when you left-click on a node, you move it or make it current. You can only see the data in the viewer. Middle-click shows the common info box, and right-click shows the node menu. Now clicking Viewer Active at the bottom right of the Level 1 top removes its border and allows you to inspect more closely the contents of the operator's data, or in the case of panels, lets you operate the panel. Middle click and move left-right to zoom the image. Left click to pan it around. Right click to get a menu to display pixel values. Right click to view the alpha channel. Right click to set it back to color. Now there are three more ways to make the viewers interactive. Alt-A puts all node viewers temporarily in the viewer active state. Alt-A. Release. Alt-A. Release. Shift-A toggles a global state called Viewers Always Active, making all viewers in all networks active, hands-free. If you select an operator and press the short key A, you can just make that operator in viewer active mode. Click away to set it back. Now even when a node has its viewer active on, you can still access its common menus. On the name bar at the bottom, middle click to get the node info, and right click to get the common node menu. Now let's adjust parameters. Pick the noise chop. Every operator in TouchDesigner has a set of parameters that allow you to affect its output. Normally the parameter dialog is open and docked in the upper right corner of a network. Press the lowercase p key to hide the parameter dialog, and P again to bring it back. To see also the sphere's parameters in a floating window, right-click on the sphere 1 and select Parameters, and you get a floating window for another operator. Now selecting several operators with the same parameter lets you change the parameters of several operators at once. Move the noise chop to the left, click on Pattern, and Ctrl C and Ctrl V to make a copy of it. Change the type menu of Pattern 2 to Ramp. Now select both Pattern 1 and Pattern 2. Increase the parameter number of cycles, and as soon as you release, you'll see the parameter being changed on both operators. To set the parameters back to their default values, there are three ways. Pick Pattern 1, right-click on its node, and select Reset All Parameters. You can also do that through the I button on the top of the parameter dialog. To reset an individual parameter, pick Pattern, go to Number of Cycles, right-click the parameter, and select Reset Parameter. Now let's adjust parameters with a value ladder. Pick the noise chop and zoom into its viewer. Left-click on the period parameter's name or value, hold down the button and wait a moment. The value ladder will appear with a number of increments labeled 0.001, 01, up to 10. With the left mouse still down, move vertically to one of the increments, then move off to the right or left to increase or decrease the parameter value. Now click on the Noise Shop's Transform page. You'll see that some parameters have 3 values. Left click on the third 0 and pick an increment and move it left and right, and you can see that the single value increases and decreases. Now if you go to the name of the parameter and left click on it and wait for an increment, you can see that all 3 parameter values are being incremented. And now here's a speed tip. You can bring up the value ladder a lot faster if you middle click on a parameter name or value, where it comes up instantly. Now let's navigate in and out of networks. Nodes with the gray border are components. In our network, Geo1 and Slider1 are components. Every component contains a network, and every network lives inside a component. To go into Slider1, select it and press Enter or the I key. To get out of a component, press U for up. You can also double-click a component to get in, U to get out, but a slicker way is to use the mouse's roller wheel to zoom close to a component. When you mouse wheel very close to a Slider1, you'll go inside it, and then you can roll the opposite way to get out. Now frequently save your work. Under the File menu, choose Create Project Folder. Change the project folder name to Learning, and click on Rename File to be naming the file learning.to. Click Create, and it'll confirm for you that inside Learning it's going to make a file called learning.to. Save that out, and you can see its result, learning.to, in the Learning folder. The next time you start TouchDesigner, you can double-click learning.to, and it'll create files numbered incrementally from there, starting from 1. The next time that you save out, you click Save, and it'll tell you that it created learning1.to in the Learning folder. You can also use Ctrl+S to save. Now TouchDesigner imports popular files for images, movies, audio, and FBX. It also imports TouchDesigner TOX files. Let's create an empty component. So press Tab, go to Comp, select Base, and put the base component at the top. Roller wheel into Base 1, where it's empty. On the top menu bar, under Dialogues, select the first entry, Explorer, and go to some folder where you have some media and drag drop those files onto the network. Quit the window, click the background, and there's your set of media files, 1 node per media file. You can also get files from the desktop and drop them in. So if you move the TouchDesigner window over and pick a media file, you can also drag and drop that in from there. Push it over again. Another way is to create appropriate operators with the Tab menu and then set their file parameters to your media file. You can look for operators with file in their names. There's also the File Import File dialog, which shows you a set of supported file formats. Also, on the desktop, you can right-click any of the supported files, go to Open With, and select TouchDesigner, and it'll start that file in a separate process. Let's go up one and home. Now sometimes you want to be in two places at once. The TouchDesigner window can be split into two or more panes. Split a pane via the pull-down menu at the top right corner of a pane, selecting Split Left-Right. On the right we can go inside base 1, and on the left we can remain in our original network. You can see the network paths up here, Project 1 and Project 1/base 1. These panes can be set to different types of viewers. We've been in a network viewer so far. We can set this into a viewer for parameters, for instance, or go back to the network editor. Now you can adjust the size of the pane, or you can select from other pane layouts, and you can close a pane. Pick sphere and zoom into it. Flags occupy the left side of a node and also the bottom. The left side are common flags, which include the viewer on and off, bypass flag, which causes the operator to do nothing, and a lock flag, which freezes the data inside it. The flags at the bottom are for rendering and display.